Okay, this video is about how I met Dave Reichert. So in 1996, I was a farrier, horseshoer, and I serviced the San Juan Islands. I had about 80 customers. And I would go up there, I don't know, every 4 weeks and do 20, 30, 40 head of horses. And they pretty much treat, in the San Juans, the people that live there are either extremely wealthy or extremely poor. And if you got horses, you got wealthy. So they pay me extra money, treat me like a king, and I just had a good time. Well, I'm going to use some special words in here because I'm going to post this also on my TikTok account. So it was 12 o'clock, September 11th, 1996, on Orcas Island at the head of Crow Valley at the Walking Horse Country Farms. 12 o'clock at night, I'm reading a book studying about horse training, and I got two big white poodles sitting next to me. And I hear these trucks driving around Crow Valley. And I usually wouldn't be able to hear a truck, but these were trucks with tires about this high on them. And they weren't racing, but they were going fast. And they're making a lot of noise. There was 4 to 5 of them. And they were staying about, 3/8 to a half mile apart. The whole loop is probably about 3 miles, right? So there were 5 of them split up between. And they're making a lot of noise. They're trying to cover up the noise of about 90 people that are chanting. And so I hear this ooh-ah, ooh-ah, ooh-ah. And then it gets intense. It just goes, sounds like a beast. It sounded like a dragon. Ooh-ah, ooh-ah. And all of a sudden I heard this girl start screaming. She had to have been 9 to 11 years old. I took off running, but they were probably 1.25 miles away, and I wasn't a runner. So I got about halfway there, and it was done. It was over. They were all going. About 23 cars passed me. 5 trucks, one pulling a white trailer passed me. And then a helicopter with big white pontoons flew over the top of me. I would estimate there were 90 people there. And so I'm standing in the middle of the road with 2 big fluorescent white poodles that just got out of the grooming shop. So they seen me. They knew I busted them. And so the next day, I got up early in the morning. I went looking for the 5 trucks that passed me. One was pulling a utility trailer. My assumption, that's a conclusion without any facts, is that the girl was in that white trailer. So I found that trailer, and you're not going to like hearing this, but that trailer was at the butcher shop that's kitty corner to the airport in East Sound. The truck and the trailer. So when I left the island that day, the next morning, there were people standing at the ends of their driveways, 1, 2, 5 people, and they're doing this. Gnashing teeth, right? And I didn't say a word. I just got on the ferry boat, never said nothing to nobody, but I went straight to the Washington State Patrol and reported what I saw. Well, they said, well, it's not our jurisdiction, Jeff. You have to report that to San Juan County. So then I went to the Bellevue police and I made a report. And they said, Jeff, that's not our jurisdiction. You have to report it to San Juan County. So then I went to the Issaquah police and I made a report. And they said, Jeff, that's not our jurisdiction. You have to report it to San Juan County. So then I wrote a declarated letter. And at the time I was going through the family court meat grinder. And because I had gotten a girl pregnant on the islands, I was a wild cowboy. And we had a baby and they weren't letting me see it. And I knew something strange was up. Anyway, so I knew how to do a declaration, where I declare under the penalty of perjury that the foregoing is true and correct. And I say that to this, okay? Everything I'm telling you here is the truth. Some of the time sequences may be out of fashion. So anyway, all these people, and I guarantee you can't find any of those reports today. So this is child trafficking. So the first thing that happened was they said you can do this as a what is it called when you do it when you don't tell anybody, in secret. I forget the name of that. But anyway, I wasn't going to do that. So I went to the San Juan County Sheriff Deputy on Orcas Island. I told him. And he comes up and he pokes me in the chest. Hard. He says, you listen here, Mr. Curry. You didn't see nothing on my island and you didn't hear nothing on my island. That guy died a couple months later of a heart attack. I didn't feel bad about it. Anybody that's involved with that, covering it up, is not any good in my book. So then 2 remember there was like 90 people at this thing. And my assumption is that it's a commercial enterprise. This happens a lot. It wasn't like they had some kind of a celebration and there was a trickling of leaving. It happened. Everybody went home. It was over. It was a drill, right? It's something they did on a regular basis. And we've all heard about adrenochrome and how it works. And so it's just kind of convenient that that butcher shop is kitty corner to the airport. One of them things makes you go, okay. So anyway, so I get approached by two community members, and they said, you better shut up, Jeff, or bad things are going to happen to you. And I said, well, I'm from Maple Valley, and them are fighting words. Say it again. He didn't say it again. So it was on. And I sat down and thought about it, about shutting up or not shutting up. And I thought, if I shut up, then I'm just as guilty as they are. So I fought. So the first thing that happened was the San Juan County Sheriff arrested me for criminal trespassing and jailed me. And these community members, a couple of the San Juan County Sheriff deputies, led them into the jail, and they were going to get me in jail. Well, when the sheriff found out, now he was a good guy, but he still knew about it. He covered it up, so he's not a good guy, okay? But I liked him. And so I'll tell you a couple of good things that he did for me. He tried to save my life. Anyway, so he moved to save my life. He moved me to Oak Harbor, put me in an airplane, kind of cool, flying an airplane from San Juan Island to Oak Harbor. And there, a friend of mine came and bailed me out, right? Then they dropped the charges, right? And the community wanted to know, because I was coming to Orcas Island on a weekly basis for my visitations for my child. They wanted to know when I was coming, evidently, so I wouldn't find them out, right? So it caused a lot of ruckus. So I get a call from the San Juan County Sheriff, and now listen, this isn't the time sequence because I didn't really write it down, right? And he says, Jeff, I never made this call. This call didn't happen. He said, but don't go to Orcas Island again. They've decided to unalive you. Unalive, you mean no more? So you know what I did. Got in my car, drove to Anacortes, got on a ferry boat, went to Orcas Island. And there's three old guys up on a hill taking pictures of me. And back then we didn't have cell phones. We had a phone booth. So I called the sheriff from the phone booth. He says, where are you, Jeff? And I said, I'm on Orcas Island. He says, I don't care what you do. Walk on water, fly, whatever. Just get off that island. Okay. Now remember, I want to get to Dave Reichert here. He's one of the ones that arrested me. And so this might take a while to do this. So when I got on the ferry boat to go to San Juan Island, because that was the first ferry out, about 90 people get on the boat. They're all walk-ons with me. So, and I don't know if you're familiar, most people are familiar with San Juan's, but you have inter-island ferries that you don't have to pay for, right? And there's a log truck on there. So I get on there and, I'm from Maple Valley. We're loggers and, just beer drinking, fighting people. I'm running for governor and I'm a fighter. Okay. I just want you to know that. And I'm born and raised in Washington. I've seen it from the 60s on to now. Anyway, but that's not about that. This is not about that. It's about Dave Reichert running and why you should not vote for him. And you should vote for me. So, where was I? So these people get on there and I go up and this is a medium-sized ferry, not really small, medium, So it has one car deck, one upstairs deck, maybe two. And there's the logger sitting there. So I thought, well, he's my kind of people. I'll just go sit by him. So I go sit down by him and he says, what in the hell is this SHIT? And I go, I don't know what. He says, well, I ride this ferry every day, 5 days a week for the last 5 months. This is the ghost ferry. Nobody rides this ferry. I've never in 5 months seen anybody on this ferry. Why are all these people on the ferry? So we get to San Juan Island and we go downstairs to get off. And he drives off, cars off first, right? And then we're all going to walk off and they make a big half circle in front of me so I can't get off the ferry. All of them. And I figured they're going to do to me what they did to that little girl. So I back up to the back of the boat and I put my arms up and I said, hey, who's going swimming? Because I'm jumping. And they all turned around and walked off. Now, I told that sheriff on the phone, I says, hey, if somebody's threatening my life, let's get a restraining order. He says, Jeff, it doesn't work that way here. Well, it does work that way, doesn't it? It's supposed to, that's what the law says it's supposed to work. So Dave knows these people. I'm just going to tell you that straight up. So then the next thing that happens is when I go home, I'm start getting people following me around, coming on our ranch and creeping around, you know, hanging out in the sticker bushes and stuff. A lot of people. And like one of my friends who was homeless, and my dad was always helping people. He would give cowboys a job. And he says, hey, Jeff, there's like 50 people sitting out behind the horse trailers. What the hell? You know? And I go, I don't know, Gary. All I know is if I go read the Bible off the back of the barn, we had a big barn and there was a hay door for the hay elevator to fit through there. I'll just read 3 or 4 chapters off the back of the barn. They leave me alone. But if I don't, they'll shake my trailer, throw rocks at it. And so I really didn't understand, but they didn't, you know, unalive me. So that went on for a while. And so then one night at the Royal Arch Park, there's a big party. And there's a lot of Harleys going in and out of there, right? And it's a Freemason party. And obviously, Dave Reichert is a celebrated Freemason. Now, Freemasonry has basically 3 groups. You have the lower groups, which are the 33-degree Masons. Then you have the Shriners. And then you have this hierarchy group that they're super secret. You can't ask to join. They have to invite you, and you have to have been a Shriner. They're called the Jesters. And so you got to realize these people are religious fanatics. So the main system of Freemasonry, they brag about having every religious group and every nation involved in Freemasonry, okay? So that's the body of the beast. That's their church body. They believe that. Okay, then the next one is Shriners, and I really don't know a lot about Shriners, but the symbol. So that's the symbol for the body of the beast. But the symbol for the Jesters is just what it is. It's the court jester. The court jester is the symbolic. Now, this is not what I believe. This is what they believe. Is the false prophet, the leader of the beast. Okay, now they're not the only religious nuts in the world. There are other people that believe they're the body of the beast and that they have the false prophet, you know. So the Bible is, you know, torn up and taken apart by a lot of different people and used for their religious whatever. Anyway, I'm not into it, and I've never joined them. You know, they're crooked, they're corrupt. So that night when there was a party at the Royal Arch Park was when I met Dave Reichert. So my girlfriend comes over and, you know, she comes out in my trailer and I'm a cowboy and, you know, don't bother knocking when the trailer's rocking. And so she leaves and I go to bed. So I get up about 1 o'clock in the morning to go to the bathroom. So, you know, cowboys, they just, you know, you're in the back of the barn, it's in the woods. So I open the trailer door and outside there is about 30 people on the fence line. They're not on my property or my parents' property. They're on a fence line, and they all got black hoods on, and they're flicking lighters. So I was standing there going to the bathroom, and I said, oh, you want something to worship? Here, worship this. And I turned around, and I hung a BA. And a couple of them just cracked. See, they're trying to scare me, right? A couple of them just cracked up, but there was one laugh that I really recognized, and that was the gal that got pregnant. She was there. Her horse laugh is unmistakable. And so later on, you know, there was a lot of religious type singing. Like, you know how, like, when somebody sings a song, it goes, one group will sing, and then another group will sing, and another group will sing. And usually they're right there together. Well, this was one group up on the back of the hill behind our barn, one group over where these people were flicking their little lighters, and then a really large group on a 15-acre piece that's next to my parents. And that was kind of cool. I mean, it was like music. I couldn't understand the words they were saying, but it was beautiful. It was good music. It wasn't like rock and roll or nothing. It was like religious singing, right? maybe some kind of a chant. Anyway, all of a sudden, a couple of rocks come flying down off the hill at me. I mean, we're talking big rocks, about this big. Clunk, clunk. And I go, you SOBs, I'm going to call the cops. So I go up to the house. And so we have a big horse farm, a 43 stall facility. When I go to the horse show, I take 35 head of horses with me. When I go on a trail ride, I take 20 head of horses with me. We have a 50 horse waiting list to get in our barn. We have a big business, right? So I go up to the barn, up to the house to use the phone. My dad says, what are you doing? And I said, I'm going to call the cops. He says, don't do it, Jeff. They're setting you up. So Dave Reichert was setting me up. So I called the police. They came and they said, well, we don't see nothing. And they said, they locked me on a stretcher. And the ambulance didn't come down Maple Valley Highway like it should have. It came from the hill where those people were flicking the lighters, right? And so they got me tied down in a stretcher. And I said to Dave, I says, well, what are you going to do now? Cut my chest open and rip my heart? And he says, oh, Mr. Curry, you sound suicidal to me. Well, I was not suicidal. He's a liar. And they put me in heart review for a 21-day evaluation, which I passed and got out. But it was really convenient that that 21-day evaluation was also my final court date for my child custody case. And this is what the prosecutor, who's Dave Reichert's friend, said to me. Number one, the psychologists were professors from the University of Washington, 2 of them, and 3 students. You know what they said unanimously? They said, Jeff, get out of here and don't ever come back. Because I'm one of them guys, I will argue with you. When you're in the wrong and I'm in the right, I will stand up and I will show you the points where you're wrong. They did not want me there anymore. So they threw me out. And the prosecutor sat down with me. And I didn't, they put me on drugs, so I really wasn't thinking clearly, and they didn't give me an attorney. And he said, here's the deal, Jeff. You shut up about the Orcas Island thing, or I'm going to lock you up for the rest of your life in Western State, and you will never see the light of day. Now, he's in cahoots with Dave Reichert. This is child trafficking. Now, wait, I was in there for 21 days. On the 5th day, this little gray-haired guy comes up to me, and he hands me a folded up piece of paper. He says, here's my number. I can get you out of this mess. I have an island in the Caribbean. I'll give you a job as a bartender. Just call me. His name was Jeffrey Epstein. I just figured they would just take me there and unalive me, and they probably would have. But these are the kind of people that Dave Reichert knows. Now, I don't know. This is 27 years ago. Maybe he changed. Maybe he repented. But it doesn't matter. Then he took me and incarcerated me against my will. That's kidnapping. There's no statute of limitations on kidnapping. It's a violation of oath of office, and it's a violation of the Constitution of the United States. It's called witness tampering. Now, the San Juan County Sheriff did the same thing, and I liked him. Look, he called me and warned me, tried to save my life. So not everybody that's in these fraternal evil organizations likes what they do. And the third one was the elected chief of police of Bellingham. This is all in 1996, 97. He arrested me for criminal trespassing for serving papers on an attorney's office, and I had hired a homeless guy from Union Gospel and gave him $20 to serve the papers for me. So he arrested me for criminal trespass for standing on a sidewalk, which I had to go to jury trial. Now, I want you to understand something. When you mess with the religious group that worship 666, and Dave Reichert's one, when you mess with that group, what they do is they wear you down. See, in the Bible it says, and they wear down the saints. So when you, like me, I feed the homeless. I've fed way more than 1 million meals in the last 27 years, like you and me, hand in hand. They all know me in downtown Seattle as cowboy. I fished more than I talked through the power of God and through his will, more than 2,000 homeless drug addicts off the streets of Seattle and got them into discipleship programs. Now, that doesn't count the thousands of others who changed their life without going to a program, just by coming down and volunteering at my ministry. So we would feed 500 to 1,200 at 4th and Yesler in downtown Seattle in about 2.5 hours. Our best day is 17 off the food line and into a program that's called Set Free over in Spokane. Now, when I started there, the Seattle police, they really liked me, but they said, "Cowboy, you're just wasting your time." I did it for 8 years. When one of these people dies, it's a good thing. Well, they watched these people that they thought there was no hope for. They watched them get clean and sober. They watched them get jobs, get back together with their families, and become productive members in our community. And that plan works. But right now, the state doesn't support the Set Free program or CMA, Christian Motorcycle Association. They're big. And they do this all the time. And they need to be state supported. They need to be state supported not just with funds, but with properties to use, because it's not just about getting them clean and sober. It's about rehabbing them, getting them a job skill set. Anyway, let's go back to Dave. So Dave stood over me. He's part of that. So if you want to vote for Dave Reichert, you just go right on ahead. I will never, ever vote for that guy. And Dave, if you're watching this video, I invite you to come and explain yourself to me. If you're in the right and you're a righteous guy, I'll retract everything. But you can kiss my butt, okay? That's all I got to say about that. Yeah, you raise a lot of money, and sure, the election's not fair, but you know what? I'm walking with God, Dave. You look pretty healthy. Go ahead and walk against me. We'll see how your luck changes. And I won't have done it because I keep God's commandments. I help the poor, and I do good. I do the work in the will of God. That makes me one of the saints. And he fights for the saints that obey his commandments. So bring it. Hey, just do me a little favor. Tell me in my ear just exactly what it is you want to do to me. Anyway, I hate jerks. Anyway, so now, so that went on. And I had an incredible God experience after that, which changed my life. And he told me, "Look, Jeff, if you walk in my commandments, I will fight these people for you." And so here I am, and I'm asking you for the job of governor. You give me that pen, and I will stop human trafficking. You know, these guys tell you they're going to stop human trafficking. That's part of his platform. He's going to stop human trafficking. He's going to stop corruption in the police department. I was born and raised where he served as a King County sheriff. And there are rumors of drugs that got signed off on that never got destroyed. And they got delivered to a certain drug dealer who had a chain of appliance stores in White Center. And so, you know, the corruption never stops. And nobody, just look back in history. Washington State has never been cleaned of corruption. Now, I want to talk a little bit about family court. I mean, if I'm going to do 22 minutes, I'm going to do 30 minutes. So during that time, I was going through family court. And the head judge of Superior Court in King County took my case from the commissioners, the head judge, Charles Martell. He's one of them. And so, you know, I was poor. I'm just a cowboy. I didn't know anything about the law. But I found this thing. I got in a phone book, and I found this thing called the Parenting Evaluation at the University of Washington. And it was an extreme psychological evaluation of parents. And let me tell you about it. So Andy Benjamin was the one that put on the class, but he's not the one that developed the class. The class was developed by leading psychologists from major universities all over the United States. And they had a reason for making this class and teaching it. They were trying to get parents who didn't have rights to see their kids rights. Okay, this is super important. Because a child who doesn't know a parent is missing part of their psyche. And what they've seen over the long term is that when kids don't know a bad parent, it's psychologically more damaging than if they knew a bad parent. See, kids can make choices and decisions about whether or not they really want to spend time with the parent or not. But the thing is, they have to know them because it's part of your psyche. It's who you are. It's where you come from. It's important. We all, you know, like I want my kids to be the better me, right? But the courts, the family courts today, there's a thing called a loop. And I didn't know about this back then. But see, I wasn't in the loop. And this is what Charles Martell said to me. Mr. Curry, if you want justice in my courtroom, now when you go to family court, it's not just about parental rights, it's about kids' rights to parents. So he says, if you want justice in my courtroom, you need to get an attorney, right? But this was after an extreme psychological evaluation of the mother of the child, who's a member of this group up there on Orcas Island, and the aunt. And this is what my evaluator and the professors, because when I took the class, I didn't take the class, but when I went through the course, it was the very first course, and all the evaluators were professors from the major universities around the nation. Now, they didn't do it because they needed education. They needed it because they need that credit to take back to their university to teach it in their state. And so the whole idea is their evaluation would really help, because you don't get nothing by them. Well, they found that the mother and the aunt were incurably insane. They said, Jeff, you went through a lot. You'll heal. But these people, so Judge Charles Mertel, knowing that the aunt and the mom were incurably insane, gave my child to him. That's how corrupt the courts are. They don't care about you. They don't care about your kids. There's the us and there's the them. Now, wouldn't it be nice if one of us won the election? Wouldn't that be nice? Absolutely. And don't think that I'm a guy that doesn't know what to do with that pen. The first thing I'll do is I'll round up every Superior Court judge, every Superior Court commissioner, and pro tem commissioner. So this is how it works. Say I have a law group, and we got 12 guys and gals in our law group. We get 2 or 3 of them to work as pro tem commissioners at the local courthouse or any courthouse, which gives our attorneys contact with the regular paid commissioners and the judges, right? So now we're in the loop, see? And our attorneys will win every case, whether it's right or wrong, they'll win. And their side stuff goes on. So the very first thing I'll do is I'll call, because the governor is over those judges. And the problems with drug addiction and fentanyl stems from the health of the family unit. And so family courts are destroying our families in Washington State. I'm telling you, they're destroying them. I just got one judge kicked off the bench. Her name was Ann Hirsch. She sent my kids to Arizona when they had been with me for 5 years. And one was getting ready to skip a grade. The other one was doing great in school. They went to Arizona. They failed for 4 years. She totally did it completely against the law. So I turned her into the Judicial Conduct Commission. And that should be promoted. A lot of parents don't even know there's such a thing as a Judicial Conduct Commission. It should be posted there. If you feel like you've been treated unreasonably, you need to report that judge or that commissioner right off the bat. But the governor needs to tell them, look, I don't care how rich and how powerful you are. If I catch you perverting the law and I catch you splitting up families and being cruel to one party or the other because of an attorney, or allowing attorneys. I know one guy just spent $53,000. His ex-wife died, so he should have got his girl, right? And he's fighting for her, and she's 13 years old, living with her stepdad. That ain't right, right? And then she makes when he finally got custody of her, she made sexual comments about him that weren't true. And he said, I just gave her back. I don't need that in my life, right? And he said, I didn't do it, but that's the kind of stuff. And luckily the judge didn't believe her. But the judge left her with this guy that's not her parent. What the heck? And I really believe this. So in Washington State, one parent or the other is the primary parent. Should not be a primary parent. Both parents should have shared custody 50-50 all the time. But I can go on and on about the corruption. I've seen a lot. I've seen what she did to other dads, and it was really clear that the women would come in. They wouldn't even have to fill out their court documents right. They wouldn't have to serve the other party, and they got their kids, and the dads got their visitation taken away. So when I reported all that to the Judicial Conduct Committee, she got off the bench. But there's a bunch of other judges that should be off that bench too. I wanted to throw that out there. What else? That's 2 major things, but actually 3. Stop the corruption. That's my platform. and get rid of these guys that are corrupt. We need to have a special that when anybody breaks their oath of office and there are damaged parties because of it, whether they, we're not talking about financial damage, we're talking about the duress, lose a job, whatever, this should be a felony, and it should be mandatory jail time, because these people need to know that if they're going to be corrupt, they're going to jail, and they're going to get charged with a felony, and they're going to lose their rights. That's just, it's not the way I feel about it. It's just the way it needs to be. What else? There was something else that was pretty strong on my mind. But I've not been running hard for governor. Oh, the fentanyl. I've mentioned this in my other videos. The Tumwater School District forced me to drive my bus. Both kids were vaping marijuana, and fentanyl on the bus on video. They wouldn't kick those kids off. And when they didn't kick the kids off, we had one girl that just got out of drug rehab, her second day in school. She's on my bus vaping, and they would not allow me to kick those kids off the bus. She spent the next 4 days, she ran away. Now, what does a cute little 16-year-old girl do when she runs away and she's doing drugs? She sells herself for the drugs. So the school district is responsible for that. But do you think they want to fess up to that? I went and told the school board about it. You know what they did? They censored me. They said I couldn't testify. They violated my First Amendment right. That's a violation of oath of office. Then they trespassed me. I didn't do anything wrong. Just told them the truth, just like I'm telling you now. And that's a violation of the 14th Amendment right. All right, right to due process. And so, we just have a lot of really corrupt people, and that needs to come to a stop. You need to quit voting for a party. You need to start voting for the person. And another thing, if you're really willing to stick your neck out there like I am, then you need to run for office. And, email me, call me. I will help you to get your name on the ballot. I'll teach you how to build a website, all that stuff. It's pretty easy, and it's not that expensive. It's expensive when you start paying people. Now, these people that got a lot of money, they're not representing themselves. They're representing a party, and they're not representing you. And these people that are paying them money, they're corrupt. You need to get that. They don't care about you. They don't care about your family. They're going to leave you high and dry. Me, I say protect the farmer. Me, I say protect our water resources. Me, I say protect our mountains and I love Washington. I've done everything. Water skied, snow skied, hiked, biked, horseback ridden in the national forest. I've explored, you can't say you explored the whole state of Washington, but I found all the dang good swimming holes to go swimming in. So anyway, God bless you, and I hope you vote for me, and I hope you don't vote for these corrupt politicians. Have a great day.